4, 3, 2, 1. KenCast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another KenCast. Today, we're coming to you directly from Jurassic Park. That's right. Today, we are getting in a time machine and we're going back to 1993, and we're going to look at the Steven Spielberg film Jurassic Park. I know this movie has many fans and some people who haven't seen it yet, but today will be a full spoiler review of Jurassic Park, and we're going to try to look at it from a very interesting perspective, both from the 1993 perspective and the 2023 perspective. And we're just going to go through this movie. Obviously, we're taking your live comments. If you're watching live, thanks for joining us. Just put your comments in the live chat and we'll try to work those comments in. And without further ado, I want to bring in our very special guest to help review Jurassic Park. You know him from the Cobra Kai Kids channel and from his new DrewTube channel, where he talks about all types of movies. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to welcome Drew. How are you?
What is up? What's up, Ken? What's up, chat? How is everybody doing today? Thank you so much for having me on today, Ken. Whoa, Ken! What's behind you? What's behind you?
Oh, dinosaurs!
Oh my God! Wait, Ken! Be careful! Dinosaurs!
Yes, real dinosaurs. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Okay.
It's the amazing promise of Jurassic Park, Drew. The idea that you too can go enjoy these creatures at a theme park, totally isolated from the rest of the world, and they're totally safe.
Yeah, and I have to say, Ken, the reception at Jurassic Park is crystal clear. I mean, I could see you perfectly, so they must have some good cellular Wi-Fi service over there, right?
Well, Mr. Hammond, who created this park, has spared no expense. So great, Drew. It's great to have you here, and I wanted to get your perspective on this because you have actually just seen this movie for the first time.
Yeah. A lot of people were surprised. Oh my God, you saw this for the first time. I'm like, yeah, it wasn't a movie that I was introduced to when I was a kid. You know, a lot of times parents introduce their kids to the movies, and I watched Star Wars, I watched Indiana Jones, so I was into the 80s, 90s time period, but I never Jurassic Park was something that I thought it was always cool, just never got around to watching it. And here it was playing in theaters for the it was the 35th anniversary. So I felt like, okay, this is the perfect time. I've been going to the theaters for everything, Jurassic Park, and I saw it, and I'm excited to talk about it today.
Okay, that's fantastic. And everyone, I wanted to bring Drew in specifically for this reason. A lot of us have seen this movie before. Some of us, like myself, saw it 30 years ago in movie theaters. So Drew is coming in from a very special perspective where he hasn't seen the movie. He hasn't seen any of the sequels. And Drew, I have to ask you before we get into this, what is your first reaction to this movie? What's your first review of this movie just off the top? What do you think?
Yeah, so going into it, I had no idea what to expect. I knew dinosaurs. I knew there was a place called Jurassic Park. That was pretty much all I knew. I had no idea who was in it. I had no idea the plot. Pretty cool seeing some familiar faces. I'm a big Star Wars fan. So you got Samuel L. Jackson. You got Laura Dern, who was in Star Wars. So I knew some of the faces, and I was really, really into it. I really loved it. I thought overall it was compelling from start to finish. It was exciting. I was like on the edge of my seat, especially when you have the kids in there, you know, those two young kids, and they're like about to get eaten by a dinosaur. I'm like, no, it was just, I was into it. I was really into it. I really loved it.
Well, that's fantastic. And I want to welcome everyone in the live chat today. We're going to go through and just say hi real quick. AEH, great to see you. Lisa, thanks for joining us. Max, thanks for joining us. Sebastian, Jurassic Park is awesome. Yeah, see, it's a very common review, I think, Drew.
Yeah, Ken, you got to pull up 80s is the best. Their comment. The next comment they have.
The next one. Okay,
Yeah.
80s is the best. 3 a.m. in Taiwan. Thank you for watching all the way from Taiwan. Isn't that amazing? And then the follow-up comment is, Drew, that hair, you looking sharp.
Thank you. 80s is the best. You're the best. Appreciate it.
I agree, Drew. Looking sharp. Looking
Thank you,
sharp.
Ken. You as well.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You look like you could work at Jurassic Park with the attire.
Well, don't tell anyone. That's kind of my secret plan. This is my dream gig. It's I mean, to be around these amazing creatures from the past. They're totally calm and safe and friendly, and I just can't imagine working anywhere but here at Jurassic Park. So,
Oh,
Tig Terry Silver Rocks, thank you for joining us today. Tig Terry Silver Rocks is our executive producer, so thank you so much for joining us today. Demi, thank you for joining us. Oh, you're not late. We've just started.
Just starting.
Jorge, Steven Spielberg is such a genius on this film. So Drew, let's go back. Let's take a look just to put everyone's minds on the same wavelength. Let's look at a commercial for Jurassic Park in 1993. We're going to try to put ourselves back in 1993. Okay, so here's a commercial like you would have seen at the time. Let me pull this up.
On June 11th, a Steven Spielberg film, an adventure 65 million years in the making. Jurassic Park, rated PG-13, starts Friday, June 11th.
Okay, so Drew, give me your thoughts on that commercial. And do you feel like, having watched the movie, did it prep you for that, or did it put you back in 1993, the way people might be looking at that movie?
So that was just like a little TV commercial, right? Okay.
Yes, just a 15-second commercial, just a little tease. That would be something you'd be watching a TV show, and then boom, that would pop up and make you want to go see Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I feel like, especially at that time, you weren't having a ton of movies like that, or any movies like that for that matter. So I think a commercial like that, if I was watching it back during that time, I would definitely want to watch it. And I mean, now, even seeing that now, it's like I definitely wanted to watch this film. I know a lot of people might say, oh, some people might feel it doesn't hold up. I haven't seen that, but you might have like the kids of today's generation who are used to all the fancy CGI and special effects. Kids, I don't know if they would see a movie like this and be like, oh, I want to see this. But I feel like it was pretty well done in the sense of, what they were able to do with the dinosaurs and how they were able to make it look. I don't know what went behind that. I'm sure you have a little more insight into that, but overall, good commercial. Was there a lot of promotion for this movie when it came out?
Oh yeah, tons of promotion. This was the battle of the two summer blockbusters. Jurassic Park was in, it had the McDonald's Happy Meal. So you went to McDonald's and you had all like the different Jurassic Park toys.
Brilliant.
So when that happens, it can be a big thing. And then on the Burger King side, they did Last Action Hero. That was the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. That was the follow-up to Terminator 2. And people thought that movie was going to be super huge just because he was such a huge movie star. And so which one of those was going to be the top movie this summer, which is kind of funny looking back now, because I don't think anyone really thinks about Last Action Hero. But at the time, it wasn't a foregone conclusion that Jurassic Park would be the top movie of the summer. But of course, it went on to be one of the top movies of all time. But Drew, I need to ask you this, because you have just seen this. You had very pure eyes going into this. There was a lot of controversy in 1993 about the violence in this movie, that this movie would inherently appeal to kids, but that it was violent. Before we get into this, what was your feeling watching this movie in terms of the scariness or violence?
Well, I will say that just to give everyone a little backstory. So I saw this movie about a week ago, a little over a week ago, and I had a full day. Like, I was out all day and I had a 7:00 screening. So I was exhausted. And I was like, on one hand, I was like, I really wanted to see this movie. But on the other hand, I'm like so tired. So when I was watching the movie, it was really good, but I was so tired from my day. I was like, I'm really hoping these dinosaurs come out soon. Like, I'm loving the exposition, but I need something to wake me up. And as soon as those dinosaurs came on, boom, I was like wide awake. I was so into it. And I was really, it was pretty. I watched it in 3D too. So for my first time watching Jurassic Park, I watched it in 3D. And you know what? I mean, seeing the dinosaur, I didn't really know how much they were going to show. Sometimes you have in movies like they show the dinosaur about to eat the person and then they cut away. They showed the dinosaur swallowing people whole and eating the cow, the poor cow, or the goat. It was the goat, I think.
Both.
Both. It's like, yeah, like poor babies. So yeah, I was a little surprised, but it's a PG-13 rating, right?
Yep, PG-13. It is PG-13.
Makes sense.
Right. So the rating isn't like G. Like and that's the thing too. Like you hear parents complain about movies a lot. Sorry, this is just kind of on my soapbox, but the ratings are there, and it seems like some parents completely disregard the ratings.
Yeah.
And they're just like, well, I thought this movie was going to be just fine for my 4-year-old kid, but I don't know why they don't look at the ratings.
Yeah.
But I want to say before we get into this, because I want to get into this issue of violence, because this was a hot button topic in 1993. Let's just go through Clifford. Thank you for joining us today, Clifford. Thanks for being a channel member. Good to see you too, Jason. Thanks for joining us.
His picture, his profile picture.
That's a truly scary movie right there.
It's like,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's like just because that's Chucky, right?
That is Chucky.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's like just because Chucky's a doll doesn't mean it's for kids. Just because there's kids
Right.
in Jurassic Park doesn't mean it's for kids.
Yes, perfect. Yes, I totally agree with that. Kate Maloney, thanks for being a channel member. She says, I was stationed over in Western Australia when Jurassic Park came out and had no clue about it. Saw it a year later when I was stationed in Southern California. I really liked it. Yeah, it's one of those that sticks around. And Robana, great to see you, Robana. Thanks for joining us. Well, Drew, just for your entertainment and again to put us back in 1993, I thought I would bring up some video clips from a news story at the time where you have a kid and a concerned mom/journalist talking about Jurassic Park. So let me bring this video up.
I'm excited for this.
Now, I want to get your reaction to this, Drew.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
It was scary. I was scared.
9-year-old Jacob Lipsy saw a preview of the movie. It wasn't what he expected.
I was expecting a little child's movie. I mean, the little dinosaur kind that goes stomping across the screen and squishing people, with yelling in the background. But this movie was not like that. It was a horror film. A total horror film.
Cineplex Odeon Vice President Howard Lichtman points out that the film rating is not marked family.
It's parental guidance, frightening scenes, which means you're not going to see blood and you're not going to see sex.
Patricia Best is a business journalist.
I think there's a huge mixed message here. The subject is dinosaurs. That's a children's subject. They love dinosaurs. But the movie is a violent movie. It's a gory movie about killing. And many of the products, and there are 1,000 of them that are being merchandised with this film, are aimed at young children.
I love that. Love that little dilophosaurus right there. So that's interesting, Drew. So what's your reaction to that news story from 1993?
Well, what really caught my attention was that last part where she talks about how they are, even though the movie is not made for kids, like it's a PG-13 movie, they have toys that are being marketed to kids. So that part really, that now I'm starting to get it. Because in the beginning, I'm seeing this kid. I'm like, this kid should not even be seeing the film. He's not of the age. But yeah, but definitely if they were making, and I did not know this, if you were making toys for kids and saying Jurassic Park, obviously people are going to go see the movie. Like, I mean, you're not making like, we could use Chucky as an example. You're not making Chucky toys for kids and promoting it to kids. So I do understand that, but yeah, it's a little. What are your thoughts on them making toys for kids, but the movie not being actually made for kids?
Yeah, I feel like this was going on at the time for a while. Like, for instance, you had the Rambo movies with Sylvester Stallone. I mean, those movies were pretty violent, but they still, like, the character is very popular with kids, so they made
Mhm.
like a cartoon, a Rambo cartoon, which was actually kind of funny. But they did this, I think, quite a bit, where you had characters like RoboCop. Obviously an extremely violent movie, rated R. But I mean, just a character that kids love. And so you could get RoboCop action figures, And so I don't feel like this is a new thing. And I guess you could say it could be a problem, but I don't know. Like, there's the movie, but there were also like books, there were other ways that I think kids could consume the story and stuff that didn't
Yeah.
involve going to the movie. But yeah, kids are going to want to go see the movie. I don't know. It's weird. But if you're making money, how can you ignore just the market there that kids would want to buy Jurassic Park dinosaurs?
Well, I guess that's a very good point that you made about just because, like, kids might see Jurassic Park, and yeah, you can make the toys for the kids, but then if you're the parents, you don't take them to the movie until they're the age. William Zabka, who plays Johnny Lawrence in Karate Kid, I don't know if if he has or hasn't shown them, but I know he talked about not showing his kids the Karate Kid because there are certain things in it, like dad smoking a joint, or beating, like there's some profanity, like some curse words in it. There's some a little bit of violence. But I'm sure his kids have the Johnny Lawrence action figure and Daniel Russo. And then once they're of the age, then you take them to see the movie. So yeah, I do understand that side to it as well.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with, I think, a kid being interested in wanting to see a movie and not being able to see it for maybe a couple years. Like, that's okay. Like, and why not enjoy the toys, right? Kate Maloney says, it was marketed as a kid's movie. My late ex found out that his 3-year-old grandson was going to see it. He'd seen it in Sydney and called to tell his child's parents, do not take him to see it. Right.
Good call. Good call.
Yeah. Robana says, I sort of remember the controversy, but I didn't care. It was a movie with dinosaurs. So 8-year-old me, I didn't care. Yeah. Clifford says, I know Jens was killed in his Jeep on Jurassic Park. Yes. We'll get to that. We will get to that soon. 80s is the best says, I watched rated R movies at 5 years old. It did kind of mess me up, I think. That's so funny. That's great. Well, it can't have messed you up too much because you are here watching this amazing live review. So thank you for joining us. 80s is the best. Justin says, I saw Jurassic Park as a kid and I never grew up eating people. I also had the toys and I'm a functional adult. Same thing happened with Batman. Batman was another one, PG-13 as well. And Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles back then. Just parent your kids. Yeah. And it's weird to me. It's like, they're going to make these movies, and I mean, these movies are going to appeal to kids. It's really up to the parents to decide what the kid goes to see, I think. And it's not a reason to stop making the movie, and stop making toys. I think it's just the parents need to step in and decide. That's just my opinion.
I completely agree with that. Yeah, definitely. And I understand why there is some controversy with that, because you have parents could just not take the kids, but some parents are like, they shouldn't be marketing it to the kids. It's like, just don't take them to it. Just don't take them to it. That's it.
Right. Exactly. 100%. And Jaws says, hey, Ken and Drew, Jurassic Park, or how Johnny Lawrence would say, Adventures of Terry and Crease in the nursing home. Oh dear. That's so funny. I remember there was I think there was a spoof of that. Was it Naked Gun 33 1/3 that did Geriatric Park or something like that? They did like this movie was spoofed so many times, of course. But thank you for your comments. Okay, so Drew, we've kind of set up maybe a little bit of the climate going into this, and I have to believe that the controversy only helped fuel the marketing campaign and made it more desirable for kids to go see the movie, because of course you want to see something that's forbidden, something that, is it scary, can I handle it, that type of thing. So Steven Spielberg was known. He made his name. His first blockbuster was Jaws, and that was about a shark. Obviously, it was a mega blockbuster. It made people afraid to go in the water. And I don't know if you've seen that one, but it basically, he had so many problems on the movie with the shark that he had to keep the shark very mysterious, and he couldn't show the shark that much. It had to be an unseen presence until the very end. This movie was different in terms of, as you saw, you definitely see the dinosaurs. You see lots of dinosaurs. And I want to kind of go through and get your thoughts on, did that work? Did it not work? In fact, let's start at the beginning. I am going to play a clip from the very first scene, and I think you'll notice that we don't get a clear view of the dinosaur. It's pretty much implied, but let me play just a part of this scene.
Joffrey, raise the gate.
Okay, so that's just a little snippet of the very first scene. But so Drew, what did you think of how this movie opened, kind of like with that sort of mysterious scene?
Yeah, so that definitely that scene definitely caught me off guard because it did have like a horror movie kind of feel. You know, the first scene being the mass killing, and you know what was, I think, a very good choice by Spielberg and everyone involved in the film was to not really show the dinosaur in the beginning, because it keeps you interested. What does it look like? I think that was the big thing. What is this? What does this dinosaur in particular look like? The one that's able to do all of this? Like they're you know, they have all these men with guns. Like yeah, sure, yeah, like all these men with guns. It's a big deal. So I think they really kept the suspense up, you know, by not showing the dinosaur. And I thought it was filmed very well and directed very well. What did you think about it?
Oh, I thought it was great. I thought that scene was probably the most Jaws-like. Like if people were looking for like a Jaws type thing, that was probably the most like that movie. I thought it was really interesting. Like Spielberg has always been a master, but like this movie is, I think it's unique. And I'm just going to throw it out here right now, in that I think it ends an era of the type of films that he made. Like after this was Schindler's List, and his movies, I think, were different. He became maybe interested in different things. This was maybe the last of a certain breed of movie for him. And there's just something about the atmosphere and the characters and the setup of this, where just there's so much tension set up, and you are wondering what's in there. That's a dinosaur. What does it look like? And one thing I wanted to ask you about this scene, and before we get into the movies, is, have you seen movie dinosaurs before? Did you watching this like last week have any kind of anticipation of what dinosaurs would look like? Were you a dinosaur fan growing up? What was your level of interest in seeing the dinosaurs?
That's a good question. You know, I growing up was not really big into dinosaurs. I know like a lot of kids, like they have all the dinosaur toys. That just was never my thing. I always found them interesting, you know, learned a little bit about them in school, the different types. Don't ask me now because I probably forgot most of them, but I didn't really have such an interest in the dinosaurs, but you know, now I definitely am. I am interested because there's a whole history there. There are different types of dinosaurs, and like even in the movie, they kind of explain, you know, I forget what are those ones behind you? The ones with the tall necks. Do you remember the names?
Oh,
of them?
the brachiosaurus.
The brachiosaurus, that they only eat leaves, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, vegetarian Vegisaurus.
Yes. So like, you know, the movie drops some knowledge on dinosaurs, which I really enjoy.
Yes. Okay. That's good. That's excellent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Were you a big dinosaur guy growing up?
Oh yeah, I loved dinosaurs. I was scared at the thought of dinosaurs, which
Yeah.
to me it made sense that the movie would be scary because it is a scary thing. This big tall thing with huge teeth that could come and get you, and they were real at one point, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, very much into dinosaurs, and I was excited to see this movie because it promised to show dinosaurs in a way we had never seen before.
Mm.
So yes. So this scene definitely, the first scene definitely up to the anticipation, I think. And or at least for me. So then we move, you know, you talked about going in and this scene caught your attention, but then we have like a number of setup scenes, right? Like we have kind of the fallout from that. You have the lawyer going to see the digger saying like, hey, we've got to do an inspection. He's got like this mosquito and amber. And then we see Dr. Grant and Dr. Sattler doing their dinosaur dig, you know, where Dr. Grant kind of terrorizes a mouthy little kid. What were your thoughts about those sequences?
Yeah. So forgive me. I have to be honest with everyone. I am really not too familiar with all the character names right now. So Ken will probably have to remind me all of them.
Of course.
But yeah, the Dr. Grant, what was his first name? The main guy?
Yes, Dr. Alan Grant, played by
Alan-
Sam Neill. Mm-hmm.
Alan Grant, yeah. I mean, when he was terrorizing that kid in the beginning, I was just like in shock. You know, he's talking to this kid about how like a dinosaur is gonna like rip him apart, and I'm like, oh my god, like it was actually pretty. Like I was like, this is not a good dude right here. Like so, and he does go on an arc throughout the film where he is forced to be with the kids. I do think there were some questionable moments with him. Like,
Interesting. Yes, tell me more.
yeah, I mean, this is going a little bit ahead, but when the kids were in danger, like when the kids were in the car and the dinosaur was getting to them, he kind of like waited for a while before getting out to help them. And I'm like, like, what if the dinosaur had just ate them? Like, what took you so long? He was like concerned, but like I felt like he could have done something sooner. I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't know. So
Yeah.
that part kind of like frustrated me a bit. It would have been nice to maybe see him act a little quicker, but overall, I feel like he was okay. I don't know. I didn't like. It was okay. I don't know if the characters were. I liked some of the characters. I liked, what was his name? The cool guy. Who was the cool guy?
Dr. Ian Malcolm, played by Jeff Goldblum.
Yes.
Yes.
I liked him. But yeah, I thought Alan, the main character, he was all right. He was all right. Maybe that's just me for seeing the first movie. Maybe if I see the rest, I'll feel differently.
So, you know, that's really interesting because they did set him up as being sort of like, kind of like curmudgeonly, you know, he's kind of an older guy that's not into kids and he's kind of crusty. And, you know, you have Dr. Ellie Sattler, played by Laura Dern, you know, his kind of professional partner and love interest that we kind of learn about later on. Yeah, it kind of like an interesting interplay between those two. And then you have Dr. Malcolm. And so that's very interesting. So basically your first thought on those first three characters, you told us about Dr. Grant. Tell us what you thought about Dr. Ellie Sattler.
Yeah. I'm pulling up the cast right here, so I got the names now.
Okay, good. That's awesome.
I liked her. I thought she was cool. I thought she was like likable from the beginning. What I did like about both of them, what were they? They were like dating. Is that what their relationship was?
Yeah, it looked like they were dating. Yes.
Okay. I liked how, because I thought it was very interesting. Like, you know, we've seen movies and shows, you know, where people are so passionate about a certain thing. And, it was really cool. Like, you know, when they got that opportunity, you know, to go to Jurassic Park, seeing them like, oh my God, like dinosaurs, like seeing them like kind of freak out over this. Like, this is like kind of like Indiana Jones finding a new artifact. It's like that excitement over it. It's like, I don't know if I would react like that, but it gives you insight into this is their entire lives. So I did really enjoy that because I thought it was something different. Just seeing two people really excited about fossils and dinosaurs and just so intrigued. Like, and I thought the acting was really good in those scenes when they saw the dinosaurs for the first time. So yeah, I liked Laura Dern, and I thought, you know, like towards the end, she started to become a pretty badass, like doing some cool stuff. Like I was down with it. I liked it.
That's good. And let me bring up that scene that you're talking about where they first see the dinosaur. Let's take a look.
Wow.
Okay. So right, they were so into this, and you could tell that they were super nerds about dinosaurs and that this blew their minds. Great reaction. But that dinosaur there, that brachiosaurus, was the first full dinosaur we see in the entire movie. And so watching this for the first time, what was that sequence like for you now, watching that for the first time, as opposed to being in 1993?
I thought it was really cool seeing it. I thought it looked good. I thought it looked really good. I still don't know how they were able to do it. I'm sure we'll get into that. I don't know what went behind that, but I didn't see it and say, "Oh no, that's not real. That doesn't look like." And honestly, I feel like, you know, with today's technology, sometimes it's a little too much. Sometimes they do a little too much with it. Maybe they try and make it like I thought there was something about it that felt more real. And it was a beautiful shot. And I think the acting really helps because, you know, for us to believe that these dinosaurs are real in the movie, you know, the actors need to believe it. And I thought they all did a great job reacting to it.
Yeah, I love those points that you made. Number one, that the actors really make the actors sell the dinosaurs. The fact that you believe in the characters and the actors' performance enough that it's these people you care about that are selling the reality of these dinosaurs. And then I love what you said about how the special effects, it's like they didn't try to do too much. It was like, and that scene, you're right, it was like a very sort of peaceful shot. And the whole point was to make it look like a dinosaur is there blended into the scene. And it's not doing anything too crazy. It's not like, I don't know. I feel like nowadays, a lot of these movies, even say the later Jurassic World movies, the dinosaurs are like, even their skin is like hyper sharpened and you can see like every detail and everything.
Yeah.
And like, it really looked like it was part of the scene and it was like the right level of softness. Even today, that's really interesting that you'd say that because for me, you know, having seen this movie 30 years ago, even today, for me, the special effects hold up. But, you know, I'm not sure if that's just me being nostalgic, but it sounds like, no, they actually do hold up.
I think they do. I saw it, and the whole time I really didn't have a problem with any of the special effects. So I'm curious, how did they do that? What was it? Puppets? Was it CG? Was it combination?
Right. That's really a fascinating story. So, and I'll just touch on a bit of it. Phil Tippett was brought in to do the animation, like the full animation of the dinosaurs in the movie. And Phil Tippett obviously is like revered as one of the top stop motion animators of all time. And he was brought in to basically use those techniques or a refined version of stop motion animation to do those dinosaurs. However, the special effects department, when they were developing these things, they realized that the computer graphics animation had gotten to the point where it could be featured in a motion picture and it could create a dinosaur. And so the separate team, aside from Phil Tippett, said, "Hey, Steven, we did this demo. Do you want to see this demo?" And so Steven Spielberg watched it and he went, "Oh, wow. Okay. Yep. I think we got to go that way." So he went back to Phil Tippett and he said, "Phil, I'm sorry. We've got to go this direction instead of the stop motion." And then apparently Phil Tippett said, "I feel like I've gone extinct." And they used that line in the movie, when like Grant says, "I feel like I'm out of a job," and Dr. Malcolm says, "Don't you mean extinct?" So they use that line, which is pretty funny. But the thing is, and this is crucial, I think, they built, like, how you would have like an animation model for a stop motion animator. They built one for Phil Tippett for these dinosaurs where he could pose and animate these animals, and those movements would go into the computer. So he was still using his stop motion animation techniques, but it was going into a computer instead. So he was still able to be part of the movie and use his skill and artistry to help create the movement of these dinosaurs. But that's kind of the long answer. That brachiosaurus that you saw in that scene was a fully computer generated dinosaur.
Wow.
And that was all fully computer generated. Nothing like that had been seen before.
In 1993.
In 1993. The best computer graphics effects up to that point was like the T-1000 in Terminator 2, the liquid metal Terminator. That was sort of the pinnacle of CG at that point. And that it worked very well, but it was kind of a metallic reflective surface. This was like a full animal that they were able to create. And I think people were never seen anything like that before. Everyone who's watching right now, I don't know if you remember, before this, the only way to do dinosaurs was stop motion animation. I don't know if you guys remember stop motion animation. It is an amazing form. It's an amazing artistic form, but it can be kind of jerky and stroby. The movements can be jerky and stroby, especially when you put humans in the same scene. So if you think about that, Drew, it was almost a version of stop motion animation. It's just, I guess you could say, luckily, the computer graphics had gotten to the point where they could use it.
Got it. So basically, just so I'm understanding it right. So they had, Phil do the stop motion, and basically like that kind of gave them like the outline to do the computer graphic design, like over that, kind of like take that and maybe like outline it, kind of something like that.
Right. Yeah. Like they'd have like, say you have a T-Rex in the computer, you'd have like a computerized T-Rex that's directly modeled to like the puppet T-Rex. So like when he turns the T-Rex's head in the computer, it turned its head the exact same way. So, because it's one thing to model the dinosaur and make it look real, like its skin and everything, but it's another thing to create a performance. And that's what Phil Tippett was a genius at, was creating the performance through stop motion animation. So it was kind of using his skills to create the performance of the dinosaur. That's
really interesting. What did he do? Any other big movies? I'm just curious.
Oh yeah, like he was RoboCop. What else did he do? Let me pull up what Phil Tippett did.
Because it sounds like a real art.
He did. He was in Star Wars. He worked with like lots of those. He did not just puppet work, but he did like suit work and stuff like that. Like I remember he did the Rancor in Return of the Jedi, the Rancor monster and stuff.
Yeah, of course.
So it's like, he was like on the forefront of doing these like type of effects and everything. And he was really the best in the business when they brought him in. So, but it's great that he still got to work with the special effects departments. And the other thing I want to point out is that, we'll get to talking about the T-Rex scene later and all that kind of stuff. It was really a combination of techniques from a computer graphics standpoint. You had the CG, which I think amounted to about 6 minutes in the entire movie that were CG dinosaurs. And then you had puppets. So you had puppet dinosaurs with advanced animatronics by Stan Lee. They actually built the full-size T-Rex and all these dinosaurs, and they were there on set, and they were, animatronic and everything. And then they had suits where sometimes, with like the raptors, a person would be in a raptor suit for some shots. And so they kind of blended all of these together, and you get you see the result. Which I don't know, Drew. To me, it seems like maybe that's a technique that's been lost a bit in terms of, some people put down CG as being looking fake and stuff like that. But what if, Drew, it is this combination and rotation of these different techniques within the same scene, where it's almost like you can't keep up with, like your brain can't keep up with how it's being fooled. And maybe that's why it seems more real.
Yeah, I think, what's so special about, movies in the 80s and the 90s is because they didn't have access to all of this different technology. They had to be more creative to make it real, or to bring it to life. And, nowadays you have certain movies where, they do have access to anything and everything. And they just, it doesn't look as authentic, especially a film that is supposed to take place, back in a 1993 period. I mean, I look at Indiana Jones, the new indie movie that we talked about
Yes.
in depth on DrewTube for 2.5 hours. It's like, it's a movie that's supposed to take place, in the 1960s. And it's like, I understand you're filming it in 2023, but like, come on, like, all the technology, it's like, I don't feel like we're actually in that time period. But yeah, with Jurassic Park filming, actually, the film takes place. Does it take place in 93? The film came out. Does it take place then?
I think it was supposed to be like a contemporary setting. Like it was supposed to be current. Like this was happening now.
Okay. Yeah. And I mean, it looked great. I loved how authentic it was. They filmed like on an actual island or wherever. Like it all felt so real. Even the dinosaurs, it all looked great. And the fact that you said only 6 minutes of CG total, like it like that really shocked me, because it feels like a lot more. I mean, is it like a 2.5 hour movie?
I think it's about 2. It's about 2 hours.
2 hour movie and 6 minutes of CG dinosaurs. It's like that's a good movie. That's a good movie when they're able to do that, and then you realize, oh my god, it's like Darth Vader being in like 10 minutes of A New Hope.
Right, exactly. Well, and I think it's the strength of those other techniques. Like, we'll get to the T-Rex as far as, and occasionally the T-Rex was CG, but my goodness, like Stanley, they built a full size animatronic T-Rex. And like, there are those shots that, I mean, that just amazing. Like that famous one that we saw before, where the T-Rex goes down and its eye looks in at Lex, and then she puts the flashlight up, and it kind of, the pupil,
That's great.
And I mean, that's all animatronics, and it's in the same environment as the other actors. And there's just something about that. And then you can go to CG and you kind of mix them all together, and it just seems like it's a real dinosaur, I think.
Wow. Yeah.
But so I'm very curious about this, because you seeing this for the first time now, compared to like these other movies. You said it seems real. Do you feel like the special effects are better than a lot of movies nowadays? Or because obviously we can do anything we want special effects wise, like we can show anything on screen nowadays. Like, did it feel more real? Were the special effects more successful, do you think, in this movie than in a lot of more modern movies? Or do you feel like even though that was good, there were limitations to the special effects in Jurassic Park?
Honestly, I think it did what it needed to do. Like, there were no scenes written into this movie where it was so elaborate, where the way they did it looked like, okay, this isn't real. It could have been done better. I think they were able to write a story that they were able to manage to film. Now, I haven't seen the other Jurassic Park / World movies, so I don't know. I'm pretty sure if I were to guess, and obviously, if I were to guess, I would say they kind of get more crazy, and then they start relying more on the CG. Is that right?
Yes, I would definitely say so, especially with the Jurassic World movies. 100%.
Yeah, that's with Chris Pratt, of
Yes,
course. Yeah,
yes.
you gotta have Chris Pratt jumping off a cliff or something like in those movies. I don't know.
Right. But yeah, it's a great point. It would be interesting to kind of look at even the Jurassic Park, Jurassic World movies and just see what happens with the special effects. Like, do they get better? Like, they should get better. Like, those movies should have all the money they need to make the dinosaurs come to life. Or did Jurassic Park do it best? You know? I don't know. It's a good question. It would be interesting to compare Jurassic Park to the Lost World Jurassic Park, which is Steven Spielberg's directed sequel to this, because obviously he would be wanting to use a lot of the same techniques and like which had better special effects. But I don't know. It's something George Lucas used to say, Drew, was that a special effect is a tool, a means of telling a story.
Yeah.
A special effect without a story is a pretty boring thing. And that legit, George Lucas, quote from George Lucas, that was at the height of Star Wars mania in the early 80s. And he was very smart and understands that. And some people could argue, like, I know they have argued that maybe he forgot that a little bit more recently, but no, I think he's right. And even though the special effects get better, what's the story being told? And maybe the story in this first Jurassic Park was the best story. And that's why the special effects hit us that way.
Yeah. So because I'm unfamiliar, and I will be continuing my Jurassic Park journey, but the second film is called The Lost World. It's not, is it Jurassic Park 2? Like what is after this?
Yeah. Okay. So, all right, everyone, some of you I'm sure already know this, but for Drew and everyone else who isn't familiar with the series. Okay. So this first one's called Jurassic Park. The second one is called The Lost World Jurassic Park. And it's called that because Michael Crichton wrote the sequel novel to Jurassic Park and named it The Lost World. So that's what they did. So they called the movie The Lost World like Michael Crichton called the novel. Even though
they named it after a book. Is Jurassic Park based on a book?
Yes. It's based on Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton.
Okay.
So he did like Andromeda Strain, Sphere, like a lot of other popular sci-fi action books. He wrote Twister, that kind of thing. But yes, so he wrote a sequel book, and they were waiting for him to finish his book, and then they kind of threw out a lot of the book anyway. But they called it The Lost World Jurassic Park is the second one, and that came out 4 years later. And that was also directed by Steven Spielberg. And then there was what's that?
Oh, I just said like that. That's like, I mean, I guess nowadays that's a lot of time for a sequel to come out. Usually they're wanting to get it out right away,
Yes. And I think they did. They wanted to do it right away, but I think they were waiting for Michael Crichton to finish his book, if I remember right. So he took a little bit to finish his book, and then they went into production with the movie. And then there's Jurassic Park 3 that Steven Spielberg didn't do. He was kind of like an in-name only executive producer on that one. That brought Sam Neill back and as Dr. Grant. And then there was a big gap, and then you had the Jurassic World with Chris Pratt. And then you had Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. That was the second one. And then you had Jurassic World Dominion, which was the most recent one. I think that just came out in the past couple of years. So that's the series.
Okay, so there's 6.
There's 6 of them.
Okay, so I got some more to do.
Yes. It's funny, like, people think differently about these movies. The thing is, they just keep making money. Like, they just keep making money. Like, it doesn't matter. The reviews don't matter. Like, they keep making money. So I bet we're going to keep getting these movies forever.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's as Mark Hamill once stated, kids, it's not about the quality. It only matters is if you make money.
Yes, you're right.
Obviously he was like, he was being like sarcastic when he said that, but he was talking on behalf of the studios. Like, doesn't matter if it's good, just matters if it makes money.
Yes. Well, I mean, and that's the truth, right? I mean, if it makes money, that's a win for the studio. So they're
Yeah.
going to want to keep making more of that. Uh, let's go to a few comments. Jaws says all the actors are amazing and they weren't stars before 1993. Jeff Goldblum is absolutely iconic in Jurassic Park. And that's another thing, Drew. Like at the time, really none of the actors in this were movie stars. They're kind of unknown, and this movie really made them into movie stars. Dr. Grant borrows, you mentioned Indiana Jones before, borrows like his hat, so it's definitely kind of a, instead of an archaeologist, he's a paleontologist, he's kind of, so I feel like he's kind of borrowing maybe a little Indiana Jones for that role. And then you have, I don't know. I thought Timmy in a way was similar to Elliot in E.T. Like I felt like it was maybe a similar type of character, and that he was maybe Spielberg was tapping a little bit into sort of like the E.T. Vibe a little bit with the kids. But let's see. Lucifer says the effects definitely hold up in my opinion, and I've never had a problem with it. And I was always just engaged in the scenes with the dinosaurs. Yeah, interesting. How would you react to this? Would you agree, Drew, just having seen it?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think the special effects were really, really good for the time being, and I would be curious to see what they've been doing now and compare it. But yeah, I think there's just something about doing it back like during that time period that's just kind of special and nostalgic and iconic.
Right. I know it was kind of a weird time too, because it was before the internet. It was like right before the internet. So you didn't have the internet back then. I have a question for you, Drew, in just a second. Let's bring up Don Ranger Powers comment. Tippett's recent Star Wars outing was The Force Awakens. I didn't know that. Sure, not everyone loved that movie, and that's fine, though it's my number 2 modern Star Wars movie after Rogue One. Thank you very much. I will have to look at that movie again in light of Phil Tippett's involvement, because he's absolutely amazing. Jaws says Terminator 2, Jurassic Park, and even Forrest Gump bring special effects innovations in early 90s. Yes, you're right. Even Forrest Gump does as well. They used quite a bit. Kate Maloney says, well, Spielberg had just come off of working CGI and special effects for Hook, and that was his moonshot, but Jurassic Park was definitely his one giant step for mankind. So Drew, Spielberg of this era, this is kind of like an interesting thing to bring up. It wasn't a foregone conclusion that this would be a major smash. Critics kind of had sort of a mixed view of his recent movies at that point. Of course, I'm a huge Steven Spielberg fan, so I don't necessarily agree, but Hook was his previous movie, and that was, a lot of critics kind of got on to him for Hook, that it was maybe, bloated or overlong, or, and it wasn't as successful as it could have been, and, all that type of thing. I don't know. What is your feeling of Steven Spielberg with this movie? Of all the movies that you've seen of his, how would you rank this, or how would you put that into his portfolio?
That's a good question. I've seen my biggest Spielberg movies, definitely Indiana Jones, Back to the Future. Right, Back to the Future was Spielberg.
He executive produced it. It was Robert Zemeckis.
Okay. Oh, but Spielberg was involved. Okay, but he directed.
He was involved.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I like remembered Spielberg being involved. I was like, wait, did he direct it? I was like, okay. And then E.T. He did E.T. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I would probably, I have to say, even though I love this movie, I feel like a movie like Indiana Jones and E.T., what those movies had that this movie I feel like didn't really have was you were able to connect more with the characters. I feel like Indiana Jones, I mean, like Last Crusade came out right around that time, right? Like yes. Indy, his father, Elsa, Donovan, Sala. You got like all these great characters. E.T. I don't remember all the names, but like, the kid, Elliot, and like obviously E.T. Like it was just a memorable film, and it had like, you're following the characters, and they're going on a journey, and like I was really able to connect with that With this movie, I didn't really find myself like connecting with Alan, the main character. Like I thought it was like a fun movie. I really enjoyed the story, but it was more about the story for me than the characters. There's a lot of times where I see movies and I'm like, I don't care what the plot is about, as long as like if you have those characters in, I think I'll be interested. With this movie, I don't know if I'm really so interested in these characters if you put them in something else. So
Really interesting point. So they work well. Like in this movie, but it's really the focus isn't necessarily on the characters. It's kind of like your sense. It's like it's not as important for the characters to be as amazing as like an Indiana Jones or a Sala or Dr. Henry Jones or whatever.
I thought the side characters were more memorable. I'm talking mainly about Alan, the main character.
Sure.
I don't know why I'm such. I don't know. Like I don't know. No hate. But like maybe I mean I only saw it once. Maybe I got to see it again. But yeah, I thought some of the side characters were a little more memorable. But I don't know. Maybe it is because I've seen it once. I don't know how you feel about that or how the chat feels, but no disrespect to the actors or to the characters. Just my thoughts.
Well, it's interesting. We brought up, you bring up those movies, and Jaws is another one that's maybe similar to it. But Jaws, as we talked about before, we didn't see the shark until really the end of the movie, which meant that the whole movie really had to deal with the human characters, and you had like such a showcase on those three main characters and really the whole town. And it was a showpiece. It was an acting showpiece. You really believed in those characters, and when they face off against the shark, it's incredible because you believe in those characters. You understand what they're going to do, and you're interested in that moment. Jurassic Park, maybe I'm going to suggest this to you, Drew. No. In my opinion, like I thought the roles were very well cast, and like the characters, I think do what they need to do for this movie. But I'm going to suggest that maybe because there are so many dinosaur action showpieces in this movie, that the movie's kind of about that, as much as the characters. So maybe the characters don't get as much time to shine in this movie as they would in other movies, right? Because it's basically just kind of like an action, like once it gets going, it's like just all out action, and you're watching these characters just react to certain situations. And they throw in some character moments, but do you think maybe that's what it is, that there's so many dinosaurs that there's only limited time that you can sort of develop these characters?
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, it's like, I think, where I'm coming from is like, you have like the Star Wars franchise, Luke Skywalker, like obviously everyone knows that name. Jurassic Park, Grant, like I've never heard the name Grant before. Like, it wasn't like, even though I never seen the movies, it wasn't like, it wasn't like I was familiar with any of the names. It wasn't like any of these iconic people that everyone, because like there's certain movies that everybody knows the main character, even if they've never seen the movie. And I feel like that wasn't the case. But obviously everyone knows of Jurassic Park, and it's about dinosaurs. But that's, I feel like that was, and maybe that's for me why it didn't like impact me as much in the sense of like a Star Wars, Indiana Jones, because I just didn't have like, I don't know, I don't feel like it's talked about in terms of the characters that much. I feel like the characters are what make it for me.
Yes. I will say this though. I will suggest this. I'm interested to hear what you guys think in the comments, but I agree with you. I remember going to see Jurassic Park, and it was about those dinosaurs, and I like the actors and everything, but it was really just about kind of the whole thing and seeing the dinosaurs and everything. But once you get on to the sequels, I think it's very interesting to me that I really feel the absence of characters. Like when you get to the sequels and not all the characters come back, it feels like something's out of whack and something's missing. Like, and I felt that, oh, I really wish we could all get them together again, you know? And so it's kind of an interesting phenomenon where, you know, maybe we'll have you come back after you watch all the Jurassic Park, Jurassic World movies. But it's interesting that, I don't know, to me, it's like, even though it's not apparent, I do think that all the characters work together really well in this movie, and they're missed when they don't all appear in the future movies.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I want to make it clear. I did like them in the movie. I did like them in the movie. Now, they weren't my like all-time favorite like people. Oh my God, this character I thought was amazing and whatever. But I did find them likable, and I did enjoy, you know, watching them develop. And I can definitely see I truly think that if I were to continue watching, these characters would grow more and more on me.
Right.
Because I did feel like there was a lot of growth with a lot of them, and a lot of story, and I am more interested in them and see where it goes. So yeah, I did like the characters, even though, yeah.
Yeah. And that's something too. Like, I remember coming out of this movie in 1993 and just feeling that I was like, you know, and I was young at the time, but I kind of was like, oh, it was okay. Like, I didn't necessarily like the ending. Like, I thought it just kind of ended.
Oh, where they're in the helicopter and that's it.
And that's it. And the movie's over. I'm like, oh, you know, they built up to this, but then they just kind of stopped the movie and said goodbye. And at the time, that's how I felt. But it's one of those things that I think I've just loved more and more every time I've seen it over the years. And I do think that you can kind of dig into this movie, and it's kind of like comfort. Yeah, like what I did there.
Dig.
But it's sort of like movie comfort food in a way. And I think you enjoy, and I think it's because of the characters. I think they do work, and maybe that's something that is better appreciated with multiple viewings. Because the first time, I mean, I think you're going to be distracted by the story and the dinosaurs.
I agree.
And everything that's happening. And then once you know that, go back and watch it again. You can kind of pay attention to how all the characters are acting and reacting and everything like that. So yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it's something that once you watch it more than once, it kind of seeps in a bit.
100%. I think that's what it is. I think that's the thing with any movie. You're just trying to process the story and what's going on. You're not really focusing on character arcs and like, you know, like how likable certain characters are. You're just kind of like, you know, into what is going on. So yeah, I think definitely it's always good. I feel like, you know, if you guys are into movies with anything, to watch it once and enjoy it for the first time, and then watch it again and kind of you know, look out for certain things. And I feel like that's what I have to do with this. But I'll probably keep watching them all, and then maybe like do a rewatch or something. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited to keep watching the rest of these things.
That's great. And right now, when we're recording this, I believe they're for free on the Roku channel. You can watch them all.
Oh,
so if you have Roku device, Roku account, you can watch all those movies. So yeah, that might be good. Yeah, I think so. Free's the best. Lucifer says, personally, I really enjoy Dr. Alan Grant because he's the expert and knows exactly what to do, and his arc was really cool too. I also just respect him as a man who knows his stuff. I like him. Yeah, and Lucifer, I agree with that. And I think that's one of the reasons I like Steven Spielberg and his movies a lot. Drew, I want to get your thoughts on this. And I think this was what separates Steven Spielberg from a lot of other directors, maybe even other directors in this Jurassic World franchise, but also with these action sci-fi movies, because Steven Spielberg respects and enjoys the science. And I think he wants it to be grounded in science. He respects the expertise. He has a natural wonder for the world. And that means when he puts scientists like Dr. Grant in his movies, they feel very authentic. Yeah. And they care about their subject matter. And he cares that it's based on real science in the real world. And I feel like possibly, Drew, I don't want to spoil anything for you, but as the Jurassic movies move forward, that's lost a bit and it gets a bit more fantastical. And you can tell that the filmmaker, there are many talented filmmakers out there, but I don't know if all of them have sort of that wiring to care about the science. I think sometimes filmmakers kind of want to do what they want to do and see things, and it becomes more of a fantasy. And wouldn't it be cool if this happened? And they're not really as grounded in the real world and science. I don't know. What do you think, Drew?
Well, I'm curious. You know, obviously, you know, I know you're not going to spoil, but I do want to hear your thoughts, because now it sounds like what I'm hearing, and I want you to correct me and maybe elaborate, is you're not as keen on the newer Jurassic World movies. Maybe they've kind of strayed away from what makes them special. Like what are your thoughts? Like, because I'm like, me and you, we've talked about, you know, the newer Star Wars movies and newer Indiana Jones movies. So I understand it along that sense. So is that kind of the situation with Jurassic World? Is it different? What's going on there for you?
Yeah. Okay. Okay, guys. And I definitely chime in the comments if you have thoughts on these movies. But the way I look at them is Jurassic Park, it seems to have that perfect story, great characters. I mean, I think it's Spielberg just at his best at these kind of like a science fiction adventure horror movie. The second movie I thought it has all the craft. You can tell that Steven Spielberg is creating these amazing scenes and everything. But I don't know if I liked the story and the character as much in the second one. I felt certain things were missing. Like, there were so many great characters in this first movie. You had a comic relief with like Dennis Nedry. I think the way Ian Malcolm, Ellie Sattler, and Dr. Grant played off each other was great. I liked the kids. They were kind of fun and energetic, and they got themselves into trouble, but they were very expressive. I thought that was great. John Hammond was great. He's kind of like the Santa Claus type character that wants to spread joy or whatever, but he fails, you know.
I like that.
and then one of my absolute favorite characters from Jurassic Park is Muldoon, the game warden. I love that character in this movie. Like, he brings so much, I don't know, so much to, especially that scene, you know. And I might, Drew, I'm gonna have to play this and I'll get to answer your questions, but I need to bring this up as an example. So let's watch this.
I can see the shit from here. We can make it if we run.
No, we can't.
Why not?
Because we're being hunted.
Oh, God.
In the bushes straight ahead.
Okay, and that's just a snippet of that scene, but I love that character. Like, he's having like a religious moment. He's like in his element, you know, as a hunter, as someone who's respects these raptors. And it's that kind of scene that makes the dinosaurs real and those actors, I think. And just great interplay. You had Samuel L. Jackson in the movie. He plays Jay Arnold. You know, you had just all these great characters that rounded out everything. In the second movie, I didn't feel like it was as well rounded. There are some great actors in the movie, but the story was kind of different. Obviously, the cinematography is post Schindler's List, and so it's with the same cinematographer. He's a great cinematographer, but it has a very sort of desaturated, somber look to it. Like, it's not as fun necessarily, but there are great sequences in it, but there's something about it that's maybe the joy isn't there anymore. But it's still a Spielberg movie, you know, so it's very well made. Then Jurassic Park 3, didn't really like that one. But it has Dr. Grant. Some people like it. It's by director Joe Johnston. For some reason, I felt like the dinosaurs looked kind of cheap in that movie. They didn't look as good. Anyway, but Jurassic World, I thought, was a good remake. It's essentially a remake of Jurassic Park. It has new elements. They go a little more fantastic.
Oh, it's a reboot?
It's kind of a reboot, remake, sequel of Jurassic Park. You know, I don't know. don't want to give it away, but obviously they decide to go back to the whole theme park thing. If you, they try again, and it brings back one minor character from the first movie, but other than that, it's got Chris Pratt. Good acting in the movie. It goes a different direction in terms of it starts to get away from the science of real dinosaurs a bit. And it's like, I think it's a fun movie. But then I think after that, the Fallen Kingdom, the one after that, was a strange movie because it was a really wacky, wild movie. It really, in a lot of ways, it kind of jumped the shark a bit, but
Jumped the dinosaur a bit.
Jumped the dinosaur, yeah. Jumped maybe several dinosaurs, but it was really well directed. It's a strange movie because I really admire the craft and what the director was doing and how he approached it. But I mean, the story was just wild. And then Dominion. Yeah, I don't know. That the great part about Dominion, which is the most recent one, is that you have Dr. Grant, Dr. Sattler, and Ian Malcolm back together. But the story and like I don't get it. Like, I'm not sure why they went that direction. It's really a bizarre movie, I think.
Did they give them the Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Han Solo treatment, or did they do a little bit better?
I actually think they did a little bit better for those characters, but the trouble is they were in a story that was kind of bizarre. It was kind of bizarre, and it's strange. You usually go to a Jurassic World Park movie to see certain things, and they just decided to kind of do their own thing. It's just like, okay, it was kind of about locusts. It's like, all right, all right. And there were some dinosaurs in there, but yeah, it was really weird.
There were a few dinosaurs here and there.
Yeah. But let's see. Oh, Lucifer follows up and says, this is a hot take, but I like the third one more than the second one. Yeah, that's fine too. Like Jurassic Park 3, I think, over Jurassic Park 2.
What is wrong with you? No, I'm kidding. Yeah. I haven't even seen it, so I have no idea. But
a lot of people did like the third one. So it has a different feel to it than the first two, obviously. Robana says the first two are based on the books. The third one was mostly about money. When it comes to Jurassic World, the first one was great. The next two are about the moolah. Yeah, it's true. Well, let me ask you, Drew, like, getting back to Jurassic Park. Oh, did that answer your question about the series?
Yeah. You and I, we're usually on the same page with things. So I'm gonna keep an open mind, but
yeah, keep an open mind. Don't listen to me because you might have a different experience with those movies. But if you have Roku, yeah, you can check them all out for free. So everyone can do that. But as far as this first movie, Jurassic Park, what was your favorite sequence in it, Drew?
My favorite sequence. There were a lot of great moments. I would say one of the moments, I'm sure we'll be talking about a lot of different things, and I'll be like, oh yeah, that was a good moment too. There were so many things, so it's hard for me to remember, but I just remember one of the moments where I really loved was the two kids. They were like in the kitchen and they were hiding from the dinosaur, and then there was like another dinosaur that came. I'm like, oh my God. It's like one of those moments where like, okay, you're screwed, but now you're even more screwed. Now there's another dinosaur. And what I thought was really amazing was you had the older sister. And I thought this was a really great arc. Like, I really liked those kid actors. The sister and the brother were great. They were so good. So the sister was like terrified in the beginning of these dinosaurs. Understandably so. She was like us, the audience. Like, like we were pretty scared, and she was, it was realistic. It was a very realistic reaction. But in that scene, even though she was scared, she kind of realized, listen, I am the older sister. I got to protect my brother. And she kind of took charge and did some clever maneuvers and was able to, outsmart these two dinosaurs and save her brother. And I thought it was a really, really cool scene. I was just like on the edge of my seat. So I like that scene in particular, but there were so many other great ones. Which ones or which scene in particular spoke to you the most?
I think for me, for the first thing I want to do is, like, if anyone has seen this movie or hasn't seen it in a long time, let me play a little bit of that scene Drew was talking about. One of
Oh, you
his
got it.
favorite sequence.
Yeah, there it is.
So yeah, that
Ooh.
was a cool scene, and that's exactly what you're talking about. She's trying to protect her brother, and yeah, they get creative on how to deal with these things, and it's kind of a nice little, I don't know if you could call it a redemption from the first part of the movie, which I think is my favorite sequence in the whole movie, is the whole T-Rex sequence, when Lex is there and she turns on the flashlight
Oh,
and is calling, the T-Rex goes over to take a look.
so stupid. It's like, turn off the light. Turn off the light.
Yes, but to one of my most impactful moments of any time I've gone to a movie, I think for me, is the unveiling of the T-Rex. And I'll play that right now. Yeah.
Dr. Grant?
Okay. I can't state enough how insane that was to watch in a movie theater. And of course, as we know, there was so much build up to that moment where you saw the leg of the goat, go on the, top of the thing, and like it's gone, and like something's there, it's big and bad. And that T-Rex comes out. And the main thing I remember most from watching that, this is back in 1993, was the sound system of the movie theater. When the T-Rex roared, it was scary. Like, it was such a loud, scary sound. And you're like, it was almost primal, where, like, going back into our ancient ancestry when we were probably hunted by tigers and everything like that. It's like it got back to that, like, fear of something big that's going to come and eat you. And for me, that was just a very impactful moment. And I just loved the entire sequence. It goes on for so long, and there's so many phases to that T-Rex attack where, the kids, it goes after the kids in the car, and then gets out of the car. And then he's got the whole thing about its vision is based on movement. And, it goes right up to Dr. Grant and, like, sniffs its hat and then blows it off. And, I just think it's probably one of the best sequences like that in all of cinema history. Like, just masterful work, I think, by Steven Spielberg. Just build up of tension and just paying that off so many times. So that's my answer on this movie.
Yeah, and also filming it at nighttime,
Yes.
having the scene take place at night, I mean, makes it 1,000 times more scary. Yeah, like hearing the loud footsteps, like there's so much to it. That was another great scene. That was when, as I mentioned earlier, I had a long day, so I was really tired watching this movie. It was like, not that it wasn't good, I loved it, but I was like, I just need something exciting to wake me up. And as soon as this came on, I'm like, oh my god! I was like, here we go. Great scene.
Well, now let me ask you this: if you have one, what would be your least favorite part or least favorite sequence of this movie? It could be a character, but it could be a section of the movie. Was there something about it that you didn't like as much?
I have his name here. Nedry? Is it Nedry?
Dennis Nedry, yeah, Wayne Knight.
I recognize him from a lot of stuff. I don't remember what. I know he's a very famous actor. I thought he was like he's a great actor. I thought he was funny. I really liked him. I thought, can you explain, like, what was he trying to do again? Because I feel like it kind of like he was trying to sabotage the park and whatever, but then I kind of feel like it didn't really go anywhere. Like, once again, I only seen it once. Maybe I'm missing something, but in my opinion, from my first viewing, I feel like they were kind of setting him up, doing some stuff with him, and then kind of just died. So I was kind of like, not that I didn't like him, but it was kind of like, oh, okay, that's done. So
Right.
I don't
Right.
know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's interesting. So it's kind of a subtle storyline where he's getting paid off by a competitor to basically steal dinosaur embryos. So a
Yeah,
competitor wants these things. And then so, they meet at the restaurant, and I think that's in Costa Rica or whatever. And the guy gives him Dodson, whom the character, not the actor, but the character Dodson that he talks to there, makes a big appearance again in the most recent Jurassic World movie. If you care, if anyone cares, I don't know. He's kind of the big baddie.
Okay.
Sorry, no spoilers, I guess. But
No, it's all right. It's all right.
he gives him that Barbasol can where he keeps those embryos frozen.
I totally
So-
forgot about this for some reason. This totally like slipped my mind. But yeah, keep
Yes.
going. Sorry.
So he's going to take this can with him back. And so he's a hacker. He's upset at Hammond because there was some financial issue. I don't know what the deal was. Hammond even said like, he expects Nedry to pay for his mistakes. So something happened with Nedry or something. But so what he did was he set up the entire island like to be automated, like he was the one behind it. So he basically created a routine that would take maybe 15 to 18 minutes that would shut off different fences in the park where he could get away with the embryos. And so he had this all planned out. But of course, the big thing was the tropical storm. He didn't account for that tropical storm. And so that sped things up. There were emergencies. And so that kind of led to the downfall. But it kind of sucks because the power to the T-Rex thing went out. The fences went out. The raptor, all that stuff went out. So I don't think he did a really great job at, he put everyone in danger when he did that. But so, of course, he didn't make it out to the dock, and he got eaten by the dilophosaurus, which is kind of a cool scene. In fact, guys, if you want, I can play that scene. You're a part of it.
Hey, pets. Look, stick. Yeah, look, stick, stupid. Look, stick, boy. Look at this. Yes. You like your stick? Go and get it. And no wonder you're extinct.
So yeah, so he was an interesting character, and that was definitely, I thought, one of the most interesting sequences with that dinosaur, the Dilophosaurus. Just the fact that it seemed cute, sort of, but you knew that something bad was going to happen. Yeah. Okay, so that you felt that maybe that storyline was a bit too subtle, maybe.
Maybe a bit. Like I don't know. Like, yeah, like. I mean, once again, so much happened in the movie. I kind of completely forgot about that whole like thing where how he met up with the guy. Like I kind of forgot about all that. Like, because it was a secondary plot line. I guess it was the catalyst for what went wrong. But yeah, I need to rewatch it for sure. Just to remember certain things more. But another thing that I just remembered, like when you talked about the fences, another great scene was when Laura Dern's character is turning back on all the fences, unaware that the kids are climbing down one of them, and like, oh my god, like the tension there, the editing in that scene, like that's such a great, like, I give so much props to the editors of suspenseful scenes when you have two scenes going on simultaneously that intertwine. So basically she's turning on all the fences and she's about to turn on the fence that they are at, and it has like thousands of volts and they will die if they're still holding it. It was really dramatic, and the way they were cutting back and forth and the music, it's like really the tension you felt it. So I thought that was a good one too. There's a lot of tension in this movie, and they really built it up just right, I think.
Yes. And you know what I loved about that sequence too was the fact that it could have gone either way. Timmy was still on there. They're trying to get him to jump, and he was going to jump. And it's like, those are the best kinds of sequences where he could have jumped and been fine and just missed it. or he could have gotten blasted, and you're not sure what's going to happen, and he gets blasted. Like, you know,
He flew.
yeah, he flew. And I mean, it was kind of amazing, but it's those kinds of things. It's like you don't know what's going to happen, and then yep, they went there. They electrocuted the kid almost, and he went flying. And
Yeah.
but it sets up the peril, I think, for the rest of the characters. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you knew they weren't going to kill it. Did you did you know that he was I knew he was fine.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's like they're not in this movie. They're not going to kill the kids, but
No.
but you're right. They did a great job with the tension.
Yeah.
You felt like something bad could happen. So
Yeah. What did you not if there was anything that you did not like about the movie, what was that?
I go back to like when I first saw the movie, like the ending.
Mm.
I felt like that the very end, when the Raptors have them cornered, and then you have the T-Rex just is random as hell, just out of nowhere, is in the visitor center, comes in there. They always, when they were about to show the T-Rex, they always kind of showed the footsteps and the pounding and everything like that, but there was none of that. It just showed up. I guess it kind of stealthily got into the visitor center somehow and just took care of the Raptors, and that's it, and everyone escaped. I didn't like that initially, and maybe for me that's the weakest part of it, but here's the thing, Drew. I actually admire that more now, because nowadays movies just don't end. Like like there's a whole like half an act. It's like movies used to be 3 acts, and now they're 3.5 to 4 acts. And there are just these overlong action sequences that don't do anything story-wise, and you have to like sit through them. And the movies are way too long. Like so many movies could have cut out like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, that kind of thing. And I admire in this movie how they didn't do that. Like they just decided, you know what? This movie it's a ride. It's a theme park ride. It's a roller coaster, and you're going to have fun, and then the ride's over, and you get off and go. It's not like it overstays its welcome. And so I actually prefer that, I think, nowadays, to them trying to tack on an extra 10 to 15 minutes, like trying to wrap things up for all the characters. And it just, I don't know, it wouldn't have worked. I don't know, how did you feel about that ending?
It's a good point. I guess for me, I would have to see like, the trilogy. I would have to see like the second film and see where they go with it. Cause it might, I don't know. I know like, Back to the Future is one of my favorite movies. Imagine
Right.
if like Marty just, went back to 1985 and then that's how the movie ended. Like that would suck. Like, but getting to see, George and like they're like all their lifestyles now. Sorry, I have something in my eye. Like seeing like all their lifestyles, like how their lives were changed, like, kind of that resolution. That was something that you really needed. With this one, you didn't really get to see too much of that. Like what's going to happen to this park? What's going to happen to these characters? Is what's his name? Hammond, is he going to get freaking sued for all this stuff? Like,
Right.
What is going to happen here? I mean, do they, I guess, does 2 pick up right where 1 left off? Or no?
No, there's a bit of a time jump.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so there you go. So so maybe they could have done like it is a nice, like, it's a beautiful shot to end it with. But maybe they could have done something. I don't know. I wouldn't have been opposed to that if done right. I don't know. Not sure.
But it didn't take away, the current ending didn't necessarily take away from your enjoyment.
No, it didn't. It didn't. But yeah, I agree. It kind of just, I guess because it was my first time and it's like I didn't know these characters and maybe I wasn't too invested in them. But yeah, I guess it would. I am curious, like what happened right after that, and maybe I guess we'll never know. Is that in the book or something? Does the book end with a little more?
The book has a bit of a different ending. I think the island gets destroyed. Yeah. So
got you. Okay.
right. But it is interesting though. Like, take note. You're right. They leave the island. The island doesn't get destroyed. The dinosaurs are there.
Yeah, they didn't
And,
stop all them.
right. And the thing they specifically set up, we talked about that Dennis Nedry scene with the barbasol can and the embryos. It just rolls down and gets covered in mud.
That's it, right? Nothing ever happens there.
Right. Like that's kind of like the tease as to like, wow, these embryos are there, right?
Okay.
But I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but like that is never picked up on again. And Spielberg has been kind of frustrated about that because like that's why they put that in there. It was like a thread, where they could keep going and stuff like that. So, but that was a thread that was never pulled again.
I wasn't sure if like that, like, yeah, I remember that happening. I'm like, oh, okay, and I thought like, but yeah, that never. I thought like we're gonna see some baby dinosaurs, so that didn't happen. And oh man, that is unfortunate. That is unfortunate. Okay.
Yes. So yeah, but that's okay. I won't say anything else. So whenever you choose to move forward when your Jurassic journey, Drew, I won't spoil it anymore.
All right.
Let's see. Kate Maloney says, don't forget to hit the like button. Yes. Thank you. Kate, thank you very much. And if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and subscribe to DrewTube as well. I've got a link to his channels in the description. And everyone who's watching on DrewTube, thank you for watching.
And of course, subscribe to Ken Cole.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Drew. Appreciate that. Jaws says the Dino Talks Park owned by Terry Silver.
I would love that. I would go there. That would be fun.
That would be incredible. And Kate Maloney even asked, where was Terry Silver during the Jurassic Park fiasco? I don't know. Is he one of the mysterious investors in Jurassic Park? Could he be one of the billionaire investors in Jurassic Park? That would be a great sequel where he'd show up and demand his investment back or whatever. Terry Silver versus a T-Rex. I'd love to see it. I think Terry would win. Of course.
Dinosaur can't see, he can't fight.
Yes, indeed, right. Quicksilver. Kate Maloney says everyone is cornered. The velociraptors are moving in. The T-Rex shows up. The tension builds. There's a blood-curdling scream, and then the screen goes black. That would have been something. Wow.
Oh my god. Oh my, that would be hilarious. I can't stand movies that do that. It's so bad. I just saw this movie in theaters, Retribution with Liam Neeson. Have you heard of it?
I just saw it.
What did you think about that ending?
Oh my gosh. I don't know, Drew. I don't know. Did you see it?
I saw it. We could talk about that another time, but
we can.
But yeah, like, but I brought that up just because, without getting into spoilers, it has a similar bit of a situation where there's such an exciting ending. Like the ending is so action packed, and then like it just ends. And it was like, wait, what about this and this and this and this? And it just credits. So it's like
right. Yes.
So I guess that kind of relates to this discussion. I do feel like Jurassic Park was a little more conclusive. Like, even though we still have these questions, I feel like the whole point was to just get away from the dinosaurs and survive, and that's what they did. So that's why it was time to end the film.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's a really good point. And Michael updates us. The Barbasol can ends up on the desk of Bios and Dodson. You're absolutely right. I forgot about that. So that's like a little Easter egg. And I think that's the latest movie. You finally see that can again. I forgot about that. I forgot about some of that things. So many things in that movie. But so Drew, here's the thing though. What you just brought up was a really good point. It did what it needed to do. The Kate Maloney had just talked about the alternate ending. If you read the book, there's so many ways this movie could have gone differently. It could have been just a straight up horror movie. It could have been a B movie. you know? And the fact that we got a movie where the theme is this majestic John Williams theme, where the ending shot is the beautiful shot of the birds, bringing up themes of like science. Grant has the kids and he's smiling and he's had this, you know, it's like, yeah, yes, that's it, Drew. Yeah. It's like you get the feels going, right? The Spielberg, John Williams feels, and it turned out perfectly. And I think really Steven Spielberg brought his unique voice to this type of movie where it could have been really bad. It could have been like retribution, like a retribution type ending. You know what I mean? So, because it could have just been about the dinosaurs killing people.
Wait, really quickly, did you like Retribution? Yes or no?
Oh no, I didn't. I mean, like, I'm a huge Liam Neeson fan. Like, I enjoy him, especially in these roles and everything. But oh my goodness, there's so much in that movie that just comically didn't make sense to me. It was so funny. I don't know. What do you think? Did you like Retribution?
You know what? I enjoyed it, like, just like in the sense of like just going in and just enjoying a movie. I thought the ending was ridiculous when the twist, the reveal, everything after that was like, oh, come on. It was like what the heck, but yeah.
Maybe we'll have to talk about Retribution.
We'll do a Retribution discussion.
That's good. We've got a couple other questions. Jason asked, when are you two going to finish writing the Cobra Kai season 6? Well, you know, I don't know, Drew. I want to speak for you, but all writers, even us, are on strike right now.
yes, guys, we are not. YouTube has just not been so kind to us. They have not been giving us what we deserve. We deserve more. So we are striking from YouTube and all of them. So we will not be writing anything. I haven't even written down anything since. I was trying to think of a joke, but I couldn't think of anything. So
that's right.
No, we just we no, that is not the case. We're just you know, I guess we're just maybe waiting for closer to the time of season 6, right, Ken? I mean, we could always do one, but I think yeah, I mean, we still have a lot of time until I'm sure we're gonna get that beautiful 6th season, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be a while. And that's another thing. It affects all of what we're doing now. And you know, different content creators have different approaches and stuff. SAG has asked that content creators refrain from, you know, just doing things to promote like shows for, you know, struck productions and things like that. So at least for me, like, I'm limiting it to just like reviews, kind of like we're doing now, and not doing discussions, say, about shows, current shows and everything. So
gotcha.
At least until the strikes end. Because you're right, Drew, we're not going to even, I mean, they shot episode 1 of season 6 and that's it, you know, and they haven't been working on it since because of the strikes. And we're into September now, and it's going to be a while. It's going to be a while before we even get to that point. So I think that's a really good point is, you know, we should maybe approach it again when it gets closer to the release. But it's fun, and I want to thank everyone for watching those, because Drew, that was so much fun.
Oh my god, I love doing those. And yes, I would definitely love to get back to that with you. So whenever the whenever things clear up and we're both able to do it, I think we should 100% do it, especially because no matter what, when the strikes do end, we will have a lot of time until season 6. Ken and I are writing a great Cobra Kai season 6 plot. It's in the works, and we'll come up with something good. So I'm excited to get back into the writer's room and get the brains moving again. It'll be fun.
100%. I totally agree. Clifford says, Ken, in Jurassic World, do you think that this was the company that Dennis was working for in Jurassic Park? Yeah, I honestly, I'd have to go back and watch them again, because we do know that, I think it's Biosyn is the rival company. We know that Biosyn is involved in the very final one, the 6th one that just came out. So I'd have to figure out if that's the company behind Jurassic World. So if it is, that would make sense. Ronan says feels like the strikes have been going on for too long. Yeah.
What's it? The writer strike started in May. Is that right?
Yes. I think May 1st or May 2nd.
I think were we? What were we doing? Did we do something like right before the writer? Wait, what was did you and I do something right before the writer strike started or something?
I think we were doing, did we do our third script story planning?
We might have.
Or was that the same as having the AI? We did an AI stream where we had AI try and write season 6, which is pretty funny.
I think we did that just because of no, I think we did that because of the strike.
Oh, that's right. That was after the strike.
That was after.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Robana says AI. Kate Maloney says you did the AI chat. So yeah, I guess that was the last one we did, but I think we did a full like writing one before the strike. That might have been the last one we did before the strike. And then we did the AI one after the strike started.
March 18th, we did our last. Wait.
Oh no.
March 18th was our last writing season 6 stream.
I think so. But remember, Drew, here's the deal. You were deep into post-production on I Went to the Cobra Kai concert.
Yes, that is right.
So that was a big, because guys, if you haven't seen that yet, you need to watch it. If you are fans of that show. And Drew's, it's a completely independent documentary. I was very lucky to be asked to help shoot on that. And Drew did an amazing job just putting everything together. You need to check it out. He did such a great job and he worked really hard. And so during that time before the writer's strike, Drew, I think you were really deep into trying to finish that off.
Yeah, that's why we took a bit of a break. 6 months since that writing stream, which is crazy. But yes, 6 months. I know. Oh my God, it boggles my mind. But we've been. No, you know what? Like, it doesn't feel like that because we've still been like doing stuff. Like we did the concert, then we were doing a bunch of stuff on the strikes, and now we're doing discussions like these. So I think that's why it doesn't feel like that long. But yeah, the Cobra Kai concert is at over 13,000 views on the channel.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations to you too. What a great video. I am so like, I love that so much. It's definitely brings back so many memories. Ken and I met in LA over a year ago now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was over a year ago. For that experience. So we'll have to see. Hopefully we get the chance to meet in person again, which we will, of course. It's just a matter of when and what will the next project be. If you guys have any ideas for what you want to see Ken and I do, we are open. I mean, you saw what we're capable of. So
yes.
Yeah.
Definitely let us know, guys, in the comments below or in the chat. Let us know. We definitely have tons of ideas, weirdly limited right now. So, and I just want to say, like, the reason why we are doing these movie reviews is because of the strike, or at least for me. But the thing is, it's fun. And I think you guys really wanted to go back and do these 80s, 90s movie reviews. So this is a lot of fun. And it's amazing to do this with Drew here today. Rabana says more of the Jurassic Park sequels. Okay, well, Drew, we could turn this into a series because you haven't seen any of them. No. So we could get your first reactions to each of these. But as far as the first Jurassic Park movie, Drew, what would you say? Do you have any sort of like final concluding thoughts on the movie itself? Things that you liked, didn't like? Maybe even from a perspective of 2023. You just saw it for the first time, but you're looking at it from 2023 now. What would you say? Your pure opinion to those of us who have seen this movie many times. What would you say?
So I went into this movie, no expectations. I had no idea what was going to happen. And I ended up having a very, very great time. I loved it from start to finish. I was into it. I was invested. I was thrilled. I was scared. I felt all the emotions. Now, I would say, I don't know if it was like a film that I would say, oh, this is one of my greatest films of all time. Like for me personally, I don't think it had that effect. But I still loved it. I just, like I look at, like when looking back at like the older films, like Back to the Future, Indiana Jones, Star Wars, I put those like way above this just because of like what it means to me. And Back to the Future, I didn't even grow up with. Back to the Future, I watched pretty recently, like maybe like a year ago, I watched Back to the Future for the first time. So it's not like, I just think character-wise, story-wise, it just did something different for me. So this film I loved. I will be curious to watch the other ones. But overall, it was a good time, and that's what I was going in and wanting. I don't really, if it's something I'm not truly invested in, I don't need it to be this amazing thing. I had a great time. That's all I wanted, and those were my thoughts. I'm curious for you, because you know a lot about this movie. Where does this movie rank for you? Like in Ken's all-time favorite movies list, where is Jurassic Park?
Jeez. That's a tough one, Drew, because I kind of feel the same way as you, where, if I'm thinking Steven Spielberg, I love, Raiders, the Indiana Jones, or at least, the first Indiana Jones movies, E.T., obviously completely different than this. And it came out the same year with Schindler's List, which, kind of transcends a movie. I mean, that's just, I could see why that was such a big turning point for him as a filmmaker. It's really tough. It's unique. It's iconic. I love the movie, but I don't know if I would put it up there like with my absolute favorite movies of all time. And it's kind of a weird thing to say because, you're right. If you put it up near Star Wars or, my personal favorite movie, very different, is Apocalypse Now, which is obviously, very different than all these. And Spielberg has made so many great movies. I don't think it's necessarily his best movie, but for what it is, I don't know. It's weird. It's very good. Those movies that, you don't necessarily think of as your favorite, but are like you've watched a million times and they're just so well made and so good. This is kind of that. And
it's a really good movie.
Yeah, it's a really good movie. Yeah. It's very good, expertly done. So much fun. And I think some movies are like great stories and some movies are kind of roller coaster ride. This has a really good story and I love the science and everything behind it. But at the end of the day, I think it's like a really good roller coaster ride. It's kind of like what it's like an amusement park ride in a way. It's like kind of like a very meta thing about this movie. And it's funny watching this movie and you see all the lunch boxes and all the merchandise in the movie with the Jurassic Park logo on it. That is the movie logo in our world. And it's just kind of, it has that kind of meta quality to it, which I think is fun. So I think that's what this movie is. It's meant to be an amusement park ride. And with that in mind, I think it's probably one of the best movies that has tried to accomplish that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I really like that analogy of the roller coaster, and I think I figured it out. I think I figured out like why.
Okay.
I think I figured out why. Maybe I feel the way I feel, and maybe you'll be able to relate to this. While there are a lot of elements of the science fiction, like like the dinosaur embryos and all this stuff that we're learning, ultimately the movie is them trying to survive getting killed. And they're trying to get out of there. So yeah, it is like on a roller coaster, you're just going along with the ride. You're letting it take you through this and you're getting past here and here. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get, from one side, they're trying to just outrun these dinosaurs and survive. When you look at a movie, I know I keep bringing up these movies, but they were around the same time, same like Spielberg involved. And Indiana Jones, he's going after the Ark, but he's meeting Marion. He's not just constantly running away from the Nazis. Like there's like,
Right.
you know, he has different purposes and goals, and there's character scenes. And like Back to the Future. I mean, Marty's interacting with his parents, and you know, you're getting all these different elements with Doc. So you're not really just constantly running from something the whole time. And it allows for more character moments, which I felt like was maybe, but you know what though? That wasn't this film. Like I don't know if like you could have done anything differently. I think that's just what this film was, and that's why I say it was really good. It wasn't the best thing I've ever seen, but it was really good, and I don't want to take away from that. But yeah, that's how I felt. I don't know, does that make sense at all? Maybe.
Yeah, I love how you put that, Drew. It makes total sense. You're right. They are trying to run away from the dinosaurs. They're trying to survive, and you know, they eventually fly off the island. You know, that's kind of what they do. That's the end. And you're right. It's like there isn't that same meat. Sorry for the pun. That you'd find in other movies. But the thing is, you're right. What it does probably the best of any movie that's tried to do something like that. I mean, so many movies try to be just like a fun ride, like a fun, scary movie or something like that. But this really is probably the meatiest of all that kind of movie. And it's different. It's like with Jaws, right? The shark is there. It's a terror. I totally recommend watching Jaws if you have not seen Jaws. It's a masterpiece. But because the shark isn't there and they're not running from it the whole time, you get to really know these characters and it becomes very real. Whereas this movie, you're right. They're running from the dinosaurs the whole time. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's like, this is the ultimate, this movie could have been done. And I think, I don't know, Drew, you'll have to let us know, but they have had unlimited budgets to make all these sequels to this movie, but I don't think it's been surpassed. You know, I think it just goes to show, and the fact that you still like it now, 30 years later, and you think the special effects hold up, that's huge. That's huge. And you know, it's something. I think one of the reasons why we all like this movie is because it's so well crafted, and you can look at all of these elements and how the scenes are structured, how it's shot, the design of the dinosaurs and how they move. And like, you can tell that everyone involved in this was just having fun. You know, I'm sure a lot of work, but fun. They were being fulfilled. Like they were just enjoying this, bringing these creatures to life like they'd never been done before. And I think that's why people come back and watch this over and over again, because it's just so much fun to watch these, I don't know, the human feats of trying to create these dinosaurs again. And yeah, I think that's where it's a great movie. All of those things.
I think you put it very, very well. You really tied it all together. Why this film is so special, and I think a lot of people would agree with everything you just said. So
yeah. Well, Drew, thank you so much for joining me today for this review of Jurassic Park. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it again. I went out and watched it in the theater with the 3D glasses,
nice.
And that which was kind of cool. And I don't know, maybe that's the last time I'll see it on the big screen. Who knows? I don't know if they'll keep re-releasing it forever or not, but it was
for the
cool
36th anniversary, I'm sure.
I like that, the 36th anniversary. But again, it's 30 years late, but my hat's off to everyone involved in this production, to Steven Spielberg and all of his cast and crew. I think he did a phenomenal job. They all did a phenomenal job, and they should still be proud of this work to this day.
Yeah. I loved it. Very beautiful film. I'd been meaning to see it for so long, and I think just it being in theaters was just the perfect timing. I've been trying to see every movie in theaters. So, seeing, I just saw American Graffiti recently too, for the first time for its 50th anniversary.
Oh, yes, you did.
Yeah.
Do you want to, should we go into that in a different video, or do you want to give people a tease on what you thought?
Yeah, I could give a quick tease. I really loved that movie as well. Once again, that was a movie I went in not knowing anything what to expect. All I knew is it was George Lucas, Harrison Ford. My biggest problem with the film was that there was not enough Harrison Ford. I just love Harrison Ford, but it was really cool. I liked how all the different storylines tied together. Ultimately, like everything was different was going on. It was like this just one crazy night. It was like that's how the kids were living back in that day. And yeah, and that's what I really appreciate about these sorts of films. I feel like, you know, films from the 90s and the 80s and even the 70s, it's like it's, you know, at least for me, like when I'm watching a film nowadays, sometimes it reminds me of reality, you know, and I'm like, you know what? I don't really want to be reminded of reality. I want to kind of go back to like a different place. And, you know, watching a film like Jurassic Park in the 90s that takes place in the 90s, like it felt like a different time. It felt like a real time, but a different time that I could kind of be immersed into this whole different world. It's like you didn't have like the freaking kids on their like iPhones and like on Instagram and then like they get eaten by a dinosaur. Like you know, it was different. So yeah. I don't know if that's what they did in the recent movie. Hopefully not.
I love how you put that though, because right, it does inherently seem like a different time. And
Yeah.
and you could tell as someone from 2023, you could tell that this didn't happen like in 2023, right?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. The way they're dressed, even like, you know, even like the smoking the cigarettes, like, right, like in the workplace. By the way, Samuel L. Jackson, like, how impressive him able to say those lines so clearly with the cigarette like in his mouth, like, you know, like it was like insane.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
an easy thing to do?
I don't know. Hey, do we have any smokers here in the chat?
Yeah, I don't smoke, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
But I just it looked like the cigarette was like flopping in his mouth, and like he was able to like talk, and like I'm like, you know, I don't know, like yeah, if there's any smokers in the chat, I don't know, like oh man,
Yeah, that
Oh,
would be because he's spitting out all this tech, you know, all this computer lingo and everything,
my
and he's like
God.
speaking at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and he's got that cigarette, and it's just like dangling.
Yeah,
It's great.
crazy. Justin Grow says he used the force.
That's right.
Mace Windu.
Well, that's true. So what is it? What are the 3 actors in this movie would later appear in Star Wars, right? Was it 3? Samuel L. Jackson, Laura
Or
Dern.
Dern, and who was the other?
Who's the other one? Oh, who was the third one?
I don't. Maybe they were in the sequel. I don't remember. I just recognized Laura Dern and Samuel L. Jackson.
There was a third one.
Wait.
I know there was.
BD Wong was in this movie, right?
Yes.
And he was in Karate Kid 2.
Oh, you're right. He was in Karate Kid 2. Yes.
Come on, Komiko, come to the dance.
Oh, bring your friend. Yeah, it's great.
See you there. It was my favorite character in the whole Karate Kid franchise, like by far. I love that dude. I want to hang out with that dude. That dude has such a great positive outlook on life. Love that guy.
Yeah, he's great. He's fantastic. And he comes back. He comes back in the later movies. So you'll be very, very happy about that.
Yes.
Lucifer says Jurassic Park was a crucial part of my childhood, and it makes me happy that you can, of course, especially Drew, loves it as well. Of course, guys. Yeah. Yeah, it's fun to go back and review these movies. Well, Drew, thank you for joining us today. It's wonderful to get your insight into Jurassic Park. Everyone, thank you in the chat for joining us today. If you're watching this on the replay, go ahead and comment below the video, and we'll see those comments forever. So this has been a very special presentation of both Ken Cole and DrewTube. So please go ahead, if you've enjoyed this, like and subscribe to our channels, and we'll just get these channels growing like they did, Hammond did, growing these wonderful dinosaurs in Jurassic Park.
Oh,
right?
definitely. Definitely.
Yes.
Channels will grow and take over, and yeah. So yeah, we've been going for 2 hours. I'm gonna
Yes.
I'll just say something quick just so we could get to that 2 hour mark. Definitely got to hit
Oh,
that
okay.
special 2 hour mark. But yeah, Ken, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate this. You know, I'm really glad we did this, and you were the one who suggested talking Jurassic Park. Knowing that I just watched it, and you know, I was worried, like I didn't know how much I would really have to say because once again I just saw it. A lot happened, a lot to process, but I really think we had such a great discussion. And 3, 2, 1, 2 hours. Thank
Great.
you, Ken. Thank you, everyone. What a fun time, and I'm excited to talk to you more about you know, the different films that, you know, I mean, there's so many films coming out now, but there's also so many films that came out you know, back in the 80s and the 90s that that we're both so fond of, and I feel like
Yeah.
there's a lot of great discussion to be had. So yeah.
100%, Drew. We're going to have to keep these discussions going. I've enjoyed them as well. It's amazing to get your perspective on all of this.
Thank you.
And so thank you for joining us today, Drew. And I look forward to everything coming out on DrewTube. And
Thank you.
everyone else, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week. Hope your weekend was great. And I look forward to seeing you next time on KenCast. We'll see you guys. Have a great day.
Want to be part of the live KenCast show? Subscribe to the Ken Cole YouTube channel and hit the notification bell to get alerts about every new show. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next time on KenCast.